The movie that asks, what if your childhood cartoon was real, but also weirdly horny? Because yes, this is technically a kids movie, but it was written by James Gunn before Marvel hired him, so you can definitely tell. We open with Mystery Inc. doing their usual thing, catch a bad guy and solving the mystery, yay! Except this time they immediately have a meltdown. Fred's being an egomaniac, Daphne is tired of being kidnapped, Velma is tired of being underpaid and ignored, and Shaggy and Scooby are just hungry and clumsy as usual. That's just because, as always, everything on the job goes wrong, or not wrong, as everything is just the usual. They actually have a pretty solid plan, but because Scooby and Shaggy are so, well, how do I kindly say that? Stupid, their plan does not really work out the way they wanted. Well, in the end, they still manage to find out who the ghost is, but not without some hiccups. So after they caught the evil guy, they all quit on the spot. Imagine running a successful business and then breaking up because your bossy blonde friend won't stop stealing credit. Well yeah, that's actually the reason for all of that. Fred is just so focused on himself that he always thinks he did everything by himself. So this movie is really just an identity crisis put in a movie, where Scooby and Shaggy don't quit. They stay behind. They actually don't really grasp the idea of them splitting up. They are the only ones that try to keep them together and are sad because of the breakup. They split up and I actually don't know where they go, as all of them go in a different direction. Scooby and Shaggy keep the van and use it all this time. They basically do everything in there. The whole movie is basically just adult jokes in a trench coat. As a kid, I really didn't understand any of those jokes, or I just didn't notice them. But now as an adult, this shit is funny as fuck. You don't get it as a child, but we all know what they want to tell us with the first scene after the breakup. Well anyway, fast forward 2 years, suddenly all of them get invited separately to a place called Spooky Island. Which, first of all, who names a vacation resort Spooky Island? That's like naming a new cruise ship the Titanic too. Scooby and Shaggy didn't want to come at first, but usually when they hear all you can eat, they are the first ones there. The gang, by accident, meets at the airport, and all of them are basically still the same. Fred is still useless but confident, Velma is working for NASA but still solving everything, Daphne is desperately trying to prove she's not the damsel, and Shaggy and Scooby are still just here for the snacks. Peak character development. I'm not old enough to have seen airports in the early 2000s, but did I really look like that? They really look cool, not so dead and cold like the airports now. Daphne is depicted as the traditional woman in this movie, as she always wears dresses and has so much luggage with her that she probably doesn't even really need. Then Scooby is dressed as a woman, because dogs aren't allowed in the plane. They usually have to go in the luggage section of it, but that wouldn't be as funny. And somehow the people at the airport all whistle and cheer for him. Can't really tell why, other than that they probably wanted us to think all the people think Scooby is hot. In the plane, this girl comes in, he instantly falls in love with her, but she is allergic to dogs, so he sends Scooby away so he can talk to her. Wait a minute. I just realized that the plane has spooky air on it, so you mean to tell me this guy has a whole island and his own airline? Crazy stuff. This plane also looks fun as hell, man, with all of those special seats and all those people walking around. And did you see the big middle aisle? That's just impressive. It's either a plane for just this movie, as I don't know if planes really look like that, or airlines really cared about comfort and not just about profit in the early 2000s. When they actually arrive at the island, the gang starts noticing something's wrong. All the college kids are acting like soulless robots, like literal zombies. Which, to be fair, is just what Spring Break in the early 2000s looked like anyway. And by weird, it's probably an underestimate. People are way stronger and just don't have any memory or feelings, as it seems. But that's because of something we learn later in the movie. I just noticed that you can actually tell that this guy is not normal the first time we see him. But if I tell you what I mean, I would ruin the surprise at the end. The gang is running around the island and they all try to look for clues at different locations. Except, of course, Scooby and Shaggy. Shaggy is way too invested with his new love interest, and Scooby, well, he gets ignored because of that. And so he wanders by himself into a forest because, it's it, there are free hamburgers. When he gets to the part where there were supposed to be hamburgers, he only finds an empty sack, and he also finds his first demon dog, which chases him out of the forest. He gets out and jumps into Shaggy's arms, but sadly he does not believe his friend, because he's so blinded of love and Scooby has no proof. Daphne, on the other hand, finds a guy that tries to do voodoo rituals and points her into the direction of the castle on top of the hill. So she takes Scooby and Shaggy with her in exchange for a Scooby snack. After being on the island for a few hours, they by coincidence found the exact same place to search for clues at the same time. Wow, it's so unpredictable. But, well, it's not that hard to think that the spooky castle on top of the hill has something to do with everything that's going on there. They all split up because that's what true adventurers do, and they look for clues that could bring them closer to figuring their place out. But the group gets watched, and this little minion turns on the castle's right, which is basically just a huge death trap. I don't know how anybody would greenlight an attraction like that, but I'm guessing we're still in America, so that's probably just how the rides look over there. They all almost die, but right before anything could happen, Velma saved them all, or, well, because Fred made an error, Velma had to improvise, and that made Fred crash through the window of the control room, which in turn turned off the ride before anything could happen. Daphne's car stopped right in time before she got the Caesar treatment, and it actually was the perfect moment for her to find the small little pyramid thingy. It has some markings about something to do with the demons, and she just takes it while almost getting trapped inside a bigger pyramid. Velma and Fred found a video that's supposed to be used to brainwash people with some kind of slang. Probably just a parody of the slang people used in the early 2000s. And this minion pressed the emergency buttons and alarms his colleagues. They get out and they get back to the resort, where they try to figure out what just happened, and also try to figure out the pyramid thingy. This movie also shows us a flashback of the Mystery Inc. early days. Back then, there used to be 6, but they got rid of the 6th member, because Scrappy-Doo, Scooby's nephew, was just too power hungry and so feisty. After the flashback, Velma is drunk, and now the people are getting kidnapped one by one by those demon dogs, as they want the pyramid thingy back. Well, they not all get captured, only some of the important people do, but Scooby, Shaggy, Daphne, and Shaggy's girlfriend are not captured. I just don't know how to further explain the state of this movie, as they are now just waking up after after calling the Coast Guard, which is apparently also involved in whatever is going on there. And to make matters worse, Fred and Velma got kidnapped. But the next day, they also got brainwashed. And they got their soul removed, which in turn means they look human, but have those dog thingies in them. Now, those dogs are hunting the rest of them in their human form. They do everything to get them, but somehow Shaggy and Scooby always get away. But in an unforeseen turn of events, Shaggy's girlfriend is now also a dog, which Scooby notices as they are driving away. He tries to warn Shaggy, but that doesn't work, so Scooby gets captured too. Turns out, the park, well, actually those CGI dogs are stealing people's souls and storing them into this giant glowing cauldron. Which, why? Is there a resale market for souls? Is eBay doing that now? Anyway, Shaggy saves them all by freeing Velma, Daphne and Fred from the cauldron. After that, Velma figures out that those dog thingies can't survive in the sunlight. That's why they used the humans as vessels. They finally figured out what the evil plan is by asking the voodoo guy. The villain, in this case the guy who invited them all to the island, wants to use Scooby's pure soul to sacrifice all those other friends. The real question is, why does the evil guy not just invite Scooby and Shaggy? As he knew that the group split up, as he said in the first scene we met him. That would have been far easier and it wouldn't have risked his plan failing. Well, Shaggy single-handedly brings the group back together and they all appreciate one another more, which then results in them tackling the evil guy's plan by making their own plan. Of course, this plan fails miserably as Shaggy is still involved, but he somehow manages to make his own improvisation work, but just a little too late. And then we get to the twist. The villain, Scrappy-Doo, yeah, the tiny, hyperactive puppy everyone hated from the cartoon, they literally made the villain your childhood trauma. And not just Scrappy-Doo, giant demon dog Scrappy-Doo. Honestly, it is scarier than any monster the show ever gave us. It's quite confusing, so I try to explain. The dude who invited them turned out to be a robot, which Scrappy-Doo was controlling. When he absorbed the souls and Shaggy pushed the extractor away from Scooby, he knocked him over. Because of that, the robot broke and Scrappy got out, transforming him into this huge demon dog. So, like, Scrappy tried to sacrifice Scooby for his big soul ritual, but Daphne saves the day by actually sticking to the plan and opening the roof while fighting this big guy, who then falls into the cauldron. That frees all the stolen souls and they fly back into the right people, like a balloon with a hole in it. Daphne also frees the huge sparkly skull, which reflects sunlight, so all of those 3 demon dogs explode like confetti on a 6-year-old birthday party. Scrappy-Doo turns back to normal after Shaggy removes this pyramid thingy from Scrappy's chest, and Scooby gives him the rest. Shaggy frees the original, not evil robot, evil guy, I don't know the name of, and Scrappy gets arrested. And the most important thing, Fred gives Velma credit. So the gang forgives each other, hugs it out, and even kisses, and decides to keep solving mysteries together. Yay! Teamwork! At least until Fred steals Velma's credit again and they all quit next week. Well, one thing I have to mention at the end is the comedic use of slow motion in this movie. There are just a lot of times in this movie where they just used it to make something more dramatic and it just feels off. It just doesn't fit. You have to watch the movie by yourself to really grasp it, but it's just so funny. And that's Scooby-Doo, a movie where the real monsters weren't ghosts or demons or soul-stealing robots, it was Scrappy-Doo, Fred's ego and whatever CGI crimes the animators committed. But hey, at least it gave us Velma memes that will live forever. Next time, we enter the horror genre, or at least we try. It's a movie about the name so scary you will forget it instantly. Well, yeah, that wraps up that awfully long movie. Hope you enjoyed and let me know what movie you want to see in the future. Alright, that's it for now. If you like this disaster of a recap, feel free to click some buttons. Or don't, I'm not your dad. So that YouTube knows that my videos are worth watching. Thanks again and see you in the next one.